Good afternoon. Welcome to today's excuse me. Welcome to today's CI Tools webinar. My name is Josh Osborne and I'm the product manager for the CI Tools here at Central Innovation. And this is a weekly webinar where we look at stuff to do with CI Tools. This week we are going to be continuing on with the Doors and Windows tool. Last week we looked at creating windows using the Doors and Windows tool. This week we're going to look at doors, as you can probably guess. So we'll start with the standard door tool, and then we will also look at the exterior door tool. So we'll cover off both of those, and then if we have time we will start having a look at the model view options. So, but the main focus will be doors today. If you have any questions, just enter those in the chat panel, and I will get to those at the end, and if I can answer them while we're live, I will do. And also we're going to be working in ArchiCAD 28 today. Most of what we're doing is also available in older versions, although the model view options are quite different now. So if you're using older than 28, what you see there will be quite different if we get to those. And also we have some new functions that you might see. In particular, we will be looking at the visibility strips. So if you see those, those are only available in 28 at the moment as well. But everything else that we'll be looking at is available in older versions too. So if you're not on 28, you'll be able to do most of the other stuff here. All right. Just before I start, I'm just going to check and see if I've got any messages to begin, and then we'll get underway. Okay, looks like we're all right for now. So the door tool, as we looked at last week, the windows and doors are primarily designed to allow you to have a high degree of flexibility and customization for your windows and doors in your projects. And the door tool works under the same philosophy as the how did that get there? As the window tool does in that respect. So the idea being that you can build up quite a large array of different options inside of a door to make it suit whatever type of door you need to put into your project. So I'll just go into the door tool. We can have a look around and see what we've got in there. I'm going to put it on this end of the building, so I'm just going to get that window off there, and then we'll put our door in at the end. So I go to my door tool, and when we're working with the door tool, as I mentioned in the Windows part, window only has one object available. The door tool actually has 3 available. We'll look at each of them today, but the main one is the CI Tools door. So we'll start with that one, and that's for doing internal doors or external doors that don't involve large amounts of glazing on them. So if you're doing a ranch slider or something like that, the standard door object is probably not ideal, but for most cases the door tool will be what you'll want to use. So I choose my CI Tools door, and then we have the settings for it over here, and this will look somewhat familiar to you if you've used the window, or just if you watched the window version last week. The way that it works is very similar in setup. If I open up the menu here, you'll see that quite a lot of the menus look the same as well, and the interface should look the same too. And what we're going to do here is we are going to start off on the shape page, which we started off somewhere similar to the shape page last time as well. This works in the same way essentially that the shape page on the window tool does. So we can define the head shape. Because this is a door, we can't define a sill shape on this one because that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But we can change our head shape to be any of these shapes, the same as what is available in the window tool. So we can have cut corners on our door, or we can have an arch, or whatever you'd like there. And once you do select one of those shapes, you can choose the way that that works using these controls here. We've also got the options to change the joining, so if you need it to not have framing on the ends or something like that, you can do that. So we could say that the left frame has a corner post, so it'll put a post on instead of a frame, or a glass joint, in which case it won't put anything at all on that side. So this is useful for doing doors that meet in a corner or something like that, or maybe they are lining up flush with some other door that you have there or something like that. So we can define the way that the edges work over here. But aside from that, it's pretty much the same as what we saw in the window tool. And then the actual set out of the door itself, so what type of doors you have in there and what you want them to do, is under door type here, which is what we saw when we first came in. So there's a little bit going on in here. First of all, we have the type of door at the very top here. So you can see we've got entertainer door selected at the moment. I'm just going to change the shape back to a flat top. So we've got an entertainer door. This is one of a couple of different types of sliders. We've got closet sliders, entertainer door, surface sliders, and pocket sliders. And you can see at the moment that there are 3 of them that are showing at the moment, and they show little arrows pointing in the direction that they slide across to. We've also got a bifold option, which will do bifold doors, double swing and single swing, and just a framed opening, which will put no door leaf in at all. I'm going to go with a single swing for now, just to keep it simple. And then below that we have some further settings. So we've got the width of our leaves. So 263 at the moment seems like an odd number. The reason for that is because we have 3 leaves fitting inside of our area, and we also are allowing for the frame as well. So that gives us this number left over. However, if we made the leaves 810 wide, you'll get something a bit more sensible. Obviously, that's going to make the door itself much wider. So now we have 3 leaves at 810, which is giving us this result once it adds the frame widths on as well. And now we can say that we actually just want the 1 leaf, and that will drop us down to something a bit more expected. So 810 for the leaf, and then 25 on either side for the frame, it looks like. So we've got 860 wide door there, which looks much more sensible. Just down below that, we can also control the A value, which is where the pivot line is. It's 0 for almost all cases because the hinge is just right on the edge. But if you do want to offset the pivot, you can do that there. And the same over on the other side as well. So if we want to make a second door on the other side, add in a 1 on this side as well. So we've got 1 on the left, 1 on the right. We can also add a pivot here. We can control the height of the leaves and any overhangs down at the bottom here. Or gaps if we need them. And the other thing that we can do is, if we want to, we can make the door types different on each side. So for instance, you could say it's a single swing on one side, and then we can say different on each side, and we can say that the one on the right hand side actually is a double swing, but it is narrower for some reason. It will allow us to do that as well. So you can see we've got that going on there, double swing on the right and the single on the left. So you can build it up to whatever you need it to using these controls here. In most cases it's going to be the same, or you just have one side anyway, so we can just turn that back off and it makes them symmetrical again. So with those 2 things set, the next main thing that you probably want to do is choose how the leaf actually looks. So I'm going to go down to door leaf to do that, and this will show us the surface settings of the door, and then we can jump into those here on door leaf type and define what the actual leaf type looks like. So at the moment they have a framer on the outside and then a glass insert on the inside, but we have a a picker here that lets you choose what you want the leaf to look and work like. The way that it's set out is it's got this sort of dark blue color, which indicates frame parts of the door, or panel parts of the door. No, not panel, sorry, but the actual door, I would say. And then the lighter blue parts indicate the panel, and then the panel is defined down here. So at the moment it's glass, but you could swap that to TNG or beveled or whatever you would like to there. So we can go through and find the type of thing that we want. We could grab one of these, for instance, and we could say that the panel insert is a bevel, and you'll see that we get bevels on our bottom 2 pieces and then glass up on the top. And over on the right, we can define the dimensions for all of the set out that we're seeing there. So we can control what size these top pieces are, where the break is here, what the gap is between the break, and that sort of thing. And there's quite a wide variety of different panel types available here. So you can choose the ones that you want. And then at the very end, if none of those suit what you want, you can create your own, I don't have any at the moment, but create your own custom door leaf. So that is, you can use the, usually the slab tool or something like that. And save that out as a custom door leaf, and then place that in here. So choose custom from the bottom, and then open the spin out menu here, and you'll be able to choose your custom door leaf from there. So if you need to do one of those, you can do. And now that we have those set, that looks horrible, I'm going to change that. Now that we have those set, we can go ahead and place this door. So let's do that. Also, sorry, before I close this, we do have a similar thing as we had before as well. We can choose if the left and right sides are the same or different. At the moment they're the same, but we can go in and say that they should be different again, and we can make the right side be a different layout, and we'll get that going on again as well. And the dimensions and settings that we set just depend on which of these two we choose. So I'm going to hit OK, and we're going to place this in our wall. So the placement of the door works the same way as any door does. We click on the outside where the sun is on our little preview, I guess, thing of the door there. Click there to place that, and then choose which direction it opens into. I'm going to have it open to the outside, and the double doors, so the opening direction doesn't do anything on that in this case, except that it will make the left one right and the right one left, so we don't need to flip it later, which is good. So we can go ahead and make our second click, and it will place that door. And if I jump back to my 3D view, we'll be able to see it there now. There we go. So we've got our door with the different panels. It looks like I put in louvers. I can't remember if that's what I actually selected there, was it? Oh, it was louvers. We've got louvers showing inside the panels, and the glazed panel shows the glass in there as well. So that gives us a pretty good start. And similarly to with the window tool, the idea here again is that we can come back at any point in the process and add additional detail to this. So you could start with just a single door with a single leaf in it that is huge, but it's just a placeholder, and then you can come back at and split it up into three, and then tell each of those parts what type of panel they are and that sort of thing, and go with that. But the tool isn't going to force you into making any of those decisions at any point in the process. You can add in the detail whenever you want to, and you can always come back later and change any of it as well. So if you decide that your double door actually needs to be 3 doors and they should be bifolds, or it needs to just be a single door now, you don't have to change object or anything like that. You just go back into the settings and change the way this door works. So looking at some of the other options that are available in here, key dimensions controls how the actual setup of the door will work. So if you have overlights or side lights on, those will be displayed here, and you can set the dimensions for them. We'll look at those in a second. And then it controls the height and width of the door as well. Snap sizes we're not going to look at for now, because we'll cover presets probably in a later session. Door type we looked at. The glazing panels, we can choose how those work. So as I mentioned before, we can have side lights and overlights, and if we do this, we'll control how those work, so what kind of panels they have, and whether you want to have bars showing on them or anything like that. Frame settings will control the settings for the frame, obviously. These work pretty much the same way that window frame settings do, so we can control those in the same way as we did with those. We've got sill profiles, inner frames. We can choose what the glazing is like, so how much glazing and what size it is and set out and that sort of thing. Glazing bars are available on the door leaves as well, so we can choose to add those if we want on the left and or right side. Hardware will let us control what hardware is on the doors. In most cases, this will default to not have any because we just don't show that quite often, but if you want to show those, you can use these. So just go through and choose the type of hardware that you want. So that will cover the handles, and then we've also got the plate underneath the handle and kick plates as well, which you can assign. Scrolling down here a little bit. The next part is the exterior trims. So again, this works very similarly to what the window tool did. We can put on a head or jam molding or do a overall exterior trim, and we can also apply sills. Interior trims again works the same as a window. We can apply interior trims to the doors. We can use shim spacers if we want those. Then we can control the pens, the cut pens, and the plan view display options. Model view options and display options will let us control how it shows in our various views and what parts of it we want to show. So we can choose what bits of the door we want to actually display. And then the schedule settings will let us control some of how the scheduled data works. So you can preview what the calculated data is for these doors, and then also control the parameters for listing as well. So we can control the way that these schedulable fields, what they have in them. So for instance, the manufacturer name and that sort of thing, so that we can schedule those out later. So that's most of the settings for the standard door tool. So as I say, it's mostly intended for use on interior doors and exterior doors that don't have a large amount of glazing in them. If you do have a large amount of glazing, or it's just a complicated amount of glazing, then I would recommend using the door exterior object. And what the door exterior object is actually just the window tool, but copied over and renamed so that you can use it in the door tool. So in cases where you need to do something like this, you could just use the window tool. The reason this one is being put as a copy into the door tool is just show that it will schedule as a door. So you can place one of these and have it come up in your schedule as a door instead of a window, but still get all of the control of the window glazing panel layout, which is what we're looking at here. And that works exactly the same as the window tool does though, so we won't get into that. It defaults to having a door panel in it instead of a fixed panel window, but apart from that, it works in the same way. So we can just create additional panels here. We can assign them to be whatever we want them to be, and it will just go ahead and do all of that for us the same way as before. And yeah, the settings are not any different. The only change is that that default panel in it is different than the default one for the window, but it works the same way. So that's great for doing branch sliders, great for doing like big display windows and that sort of thing, entranceways and that sort of stuff. And then the last door that we have in the list here is the garage door, and this one is very specifically for doing garage doors. It doesn't do any other kind of doors. And obviously garage doors are quite different to regular doors, so rather than trying to get a door that works in a completely different way into the standard door object, it's just a separate object. So in this one we can control what kind of door we've got. We've got options for roller doors, tilt panels, which you can see there, or section or lift doors, which look the same, but those are controlled there. You can see in the preview that we can control for the sectional ones what the sectional parts, how big they are and that sort of thing. Same for the roller, you can choose how that works. And then the settings, there's less settings in these ones because there's a little bit less going on with the actual elements, but we can control the head shape same as we could with the door, and then the door leaf will allow us to control how that looks. If I go back here and change to a tilt panel and go back to door leaf, you'll see a display of what the panel actually looks like. So we can control how many panels there are running across and down, So rows of panels, there's 5 rows, which you can see here. You can also define if you want to have glazed panels in the tilt panel as well, which you can see here. So we just define the height that we want the glazing to be at, which is this A value here. It's set to 3000, which is higher than the door is, so that's why we're not getting any glazing at all. But if I drop this down to, let's say, 1100, we should see some glazing coming in at the next row after 1100, which is what it's doing there. And the number of those that we have is 3, so you can see there's 3 of those spread across. And it looks like the number of standard panels we have is 5, which is defined here. Number of panels across and number of glazed panels across, so you can have those offset to each other. And then we can also choose what panel to insert in them. So at the moment we've got flat, but we can have beveled panels, we can have TNG panels, and we can have louver panels as well if you wanted. And it will just place them in there, similar again to how the door leaf setting in the door tool worked. And then we've got controls for the frame, the glass, if you have any, trims around the doors, and the attributes, which all work in essentially the same way as they do for the door tool and for the window tool. So still plenty of control over what you want to do there, just quite a lot less options available because you just don't need them in most cases for garage doors. So if I hit OK, that will place one of those there, and you can see that. If you want to have it open, you can just grab this hotspot down at the bottom here and move that around, and it will should open. Why is it not opening? I think I might have my model view option set to always show closed actually. So that leads me on to the next thing I wanted to show. We've only got a few minutes, but I'll quickly look at the model view options. So this has changed in ArchiCAD 28. In previous versions of ArchiCAD, the door and window model view options followed the options for the ArchiCAD doors and windows. With the change to the way libraries work in ArchiCAD 28, there is no standard window or door model view options now. There are different ones for each library of model view of doors and windows that you might want to use, and they're all slightly different, so we can't really use that as a rule. So we've made our own model view options in here under CI Tools, Doors and Windows. So if you go in here, by default, this will be set to legacy, which is to say that it will keep looking the same way as it did in an older version of ArchiCAD. So you can go through and see some of the settings going on here, but most of them are grayed out because they only work in the new version. But if we want to jump into the new version of the way that it works, we click on New, and everything will activate then, and we can control how this works. So we've got the display of how the door leaf opening lines should work. We've got the type of arrow we want to show on sliders. Over on Windows, we've got the way that the opening lines work for those and the arrows that would show on them as well. We can also choose to have doors shut or open using this tick box here. And if we want the gap to be masked or not, you probably won't want it to be in most cases, but if you need it to, it can be. And then we can show windows shut over here as well. The plan view controls let us control how it looks in plan. So we can control how much of the main frame we want to see, how much of the window, the door we want to see, and how much of the window we want to see over here. So this roughly matches the old model view options settings for windows and doors here. So you can control full, medium, or simple in most cases. And there's a couple of variations on full depending on exactly how you want it to look for those. So you can define those there. And then we've got the control of the arrows, same as before. The minimal space settings, if you want that to be displayed, you can turn that on and set up how it works here. And the visibility strips that can be applied to the windows, which we looked at a little bit last week, those can be controlled in here as well. And because these are model view options, it means you can have some views that say have the model view, have the visibility strips on, and some where it's turned off. You can have some that show arrows and some that don't, and that sort of thing. So you can get plenty of control out of it that way. And as you can see, because I switched to new and I've got opening lines turned on, those have displayed there now. All right, I'm just going to quickly check and see if we've got any questions and before I finish up. So let me see what we got here. All right. Okay, looks like no questions today. So what we'll cover off next week is we will look at the presets. So that is the styles, we call them, but they're essentially the preset windows and doors that you can, set up and use throughout your template, so that you essentially don't have to recreate your windows and doors each time you want to use them. So we'll look at doing those. So that's presets and snap sizing for the presets. And then either during that session or the one after, we will look at scheduling and schedule notes and that sort of thing as well. But if you have any questions that you would like to ask about any of what we've looked at today, just send those through to the support desk. The email address is on screen now. And if you have any suggestions for future webinar topics, for things you'd like to see, send those through to the email, the support desk email as well. And I will try and get to anything that you talk about there in future webinars as well. But that's all from me for today. Thanks for your time, everyone, and I'll catch you at the next one.